For nearly 8 years, I watched my life transform from being treated like royalty to being little more than their live-in maid. My son, Jack? He rolled his eyes at me, called me lazy and useless. My husband, Daniel? He treated me like some outdated relic that embarrassed him in front of his friends. I was done. No more school drop-offs, no more making breakfast, no more rushing to iron his shirts or pack Jack's school project. Figure it out yourself, I thought. The very first day I refused to be their unpaid servant, the entire house descended into chaos. Jack screamed down the hall, "Mom, where's my art project? I'll be in so much trouble." Daniel's furious voice boomed, "Sarah, it's almost 9. Why didn't you wake me?" I stayed in bed, eyes closed, pretending they didn't even exist. Daniel stormed in, ripped the blanket off me and shouted, "Sarah, get up! You're lying there like a corpse. Where's breakfast? What do you think you're doing?" I didn't even flinch. Instead, I calmly held up the piece of paper he himself had signed, the one where he promised I could stop if he didn't appreciate me. His face turned crimson. He opened his mouth, shut it again, then stomped out of the house in mismatched socks and a crooked shirt. Honestly? I nearly burst out laughing. And Jack? He ran around like a maniac, throwing papers, wailing, "I'm late. Mrs. Lewis will kill me. Where is it?" But I just strolled past him, silent. He glared at me, furious. "Mom, help me find it. I'm going to be late." I didn't even glance back. "If you're late, move faster. Or do you want a rocket to take you to school?" His face burned bright red. He stammered. He wanted to argue. But one look at the clock and he grabbed his bag and ran. How poetic. They'd always said I was worthless. Fine, let them live without their personal maid. When they finally left, the house fell quiet. For the first time in years, I had a slow morning, or so I thought. Halfway through brushing my teeth, my phone wouldn't stop buzzing. I didn't even need to check. It was Daniel. I ignored it. It rang again, more urgently. Finally, I answered. "Sarah, I left my file. Find it and bring it. My manager's on my neck." Every day it was something. Keys, wallet, phone, file. And somehow it was always my fault. I'd even started packing his things every morning just so he wouldn't forget. What did he do? Brag to his friends, "You see? Women need to be controlled. Otherwise, they don't listen." Really? Well then, time to listen to his advice. "Daniel," I said, voice calm but icy, "how many times have I told you to check your stuff before leaving? Do you not understand English? I'm busy. Don't waste my time. I'm not bringing you your damn documents." And I hung up. Oh, it felt amazing. All the pent-up frustration evaporated. For the first time in years, I actually felt alive. But Daniel wasn't done yet. The texts came in waves. "Sarah, don't be ridiculous." "Hurry up." "Sarah, answer me." "For God's sake, my manager is breathing down my neck." Then the final one, a photo of a signed check. "Bring me the file and this is yours." Bribery? Well, for cash, I could make an exception. After dropping off Daniel's precious file, because apparently a bribe worked wonders, I thought I'd finally have a quiet day. But no. My phone buzzed again, this time with the school's number flashing. When I picked up, a sickeningly polite voice said, "Mrs. Spencer, this is Mrs. Lewis. Could you come to school immediately? It's urgent." I got there as fast as I could, expecting the worst. Jack came barreling at me, sobbing like he was on stage for an award-winning drama. "Mommy, I'm sorry, don't hit me. Please don't rip up my project again." I froze, blinking at his wet eyes and trembling lips, but then I caught the calculating gleam behind them. That little devil. He was pinning it on me so he wouldn't get in trouble for losing it. So that's the game? Fine. I grabbed his arm and hauled him to the side, pressing him gently but firmly against the wall. Mrs. Lewis flinched. "Mrs. Spencer, please, let's calm down. We should talk this out." I didn't even spare her a glance. Instead, I pulled out my phone. One click and the video played. Jack's voice blared, "Mrs. Lewis is such an old hag. Just looking at her makes me want to puke." On screen, he pranced around the living room, contorting his face, mimicking her voice in a cruel parody. Mrs. Lewis's face drained of color, but she forced a polite smile that looked painful. Jack is usually well-behaved, just a bit mischievous. I let out a theatrical sigh and wiped at non-existent tears. You're right, it's my fault. I should have let him play games all night. I'm clearly failing as a mother. Mrs. Lewis softened immediately. She patted my arm. It's all right. Boys will be boys. Don't be too hard on yourself. Jack's eyes went wide with betrayal. I could see it in his face. Shock, fury, disbelief. But I felt nothing, not a single ounce of guilt. This boy had been spoiled rotten. And today? That ended. Once school was dealt with, I left them all behind and treated myself. A spa day, a long, steaming bath, shopping for clothes I actually liked. I used to be pampered like this all the time, back when Daniel still pretended to love me. When he whispered promises of forever, when he swore he'd always put me first, that all died the moment I said I do. Suddenly, the attentive boyfriend disappeared, replaced by a man who saw me as the household help. He told me, "Marriage isn't a fairy tale, Sarah. Be realistic." So I did. I worked myself to exhaustion to be the perfect wife, the perfect mother. I sacrificed everything for Jack. And how did they repay me? Jack called me an embarrassment. Daniel mocked my cooking, my clothes, my weight. Your fashion sense is trash. Sarah, you chew like a cow. Day after day, they chipped away at me until I didn't recognize myself. I lost my voice. I lost my confidence. I lost me. Walking through crowds, I imagined people staring at me in disgust. The anxiety crushed me. Once I tried to talk to Daniel about getting a job, a change of scenery, something to make me feel human again. He said no. Jack's too young. Someone has to take care of the house. But was that even true? Daniel had his career. Jack was in elementary school. The only one trapped at home was me. One day I stared at my reflection. The woman in the mirror was dull, lifeless, broken. Meanwhile, Daniel looked exactly the same as the day we met. Well-fed, strong, thriving. I realized something in that moment. I refused to be a woman without dignity any longer. I refused to keep living this lie. When I finally got home that night, the lights were on in the living room. Daniel and Jack sat side by side on the couch, arms folded, faces hard with judgment. Perfect. Daniel cleared his throat like some self-important CEO. Sarah, we need to talk about your behavior. Translation? They wanted to gang up on me. Jack spoke first, voice high and accusing. I had to stay after school because of you. Mrs. Lewis hates me now. Daniel's turn. My boss chewed me out today, docked my pay, my promotion, gone, all because you couldn't be bothered to help. Their words dripped blame. Listening to them, you'd think I was a one-woman wrecking ball who single-handedly ruined their lives. I snapped. I stood so quickly the chair scraped against the floor. Fine, I said, voice even. Let's settle accounts. They blinked, confused, hope briefly flickering in their eyes. Good. Let them hope. I picked up my notebook, flipped it open deliberately, and began reading. 6 a.m., wake up, 6:30, breakfast done. 8 o'clock, drop Jack at school. 9 a.m., start cleaning, laundry, groceries, bills, cooking lunch, cleaning again, picking Jack up, helping with homework, preparing dinner, washing up, 10 p.m., finally sleep. Jack's eyes went round. Why are you telling us this? I ignored him. When I finished listing every single thankless task I did every day for 8 straight years, I looked up at them both. My voice was calm, deadly calm. Now, tell me, how do we settle this account? Jack squirmed. Other moms don't keep track of that stuff. A mother's love is supposed to be unconditional. Unconditional. I almost laughed. That word was their favorite weapon. The excuse to make me sacrifice myself over and over with no complaint. Fine, if we were comparing, let's go all the way. I crossed my arms. Other kids help their mothers. Other kids show gratitude. What have you done for me? You yell at me, disrespect me, treat me like a maid. Jack's mouth opened, closed. Nothing came out. He had no answer. Daniel cleared his throat, stepping in like the savior. Sarah, he's just a kid. Do you really need to emotionally blackmail him? I stared at him. Emotionally blackmail? Coming from him? I almost applauded the hypocrisy. Fine, I said coolly. No more words. Let's talk numbers. Daniel frowned. What numbers? I leaned in. This house, I bought it. You've lived here for a decade rent-free. How do we settle that? His face turned red. I pay for expenses. I snorted. You mean the $500 you toss at me every month? What do you think this is, 1950? Groceries alone are triple that here. I threw a pile of receipts on the table. This month's expenses, $3,904.50. How do you want to pay me back? Daniel's face went pale. I wasn't done. He scrambled for a comeback. I buy you gifts. I try, Sarah. I laughed, low and bitter. Gifts? You mean those bargain bin makeup sets where you kept the good part for your mother and gave me the leftovers? The ones you repackaged like I wouldn't notice? He winced. I pressed harder. Before marriage, you spent money like water to impress me. After marriage? You couldn't spare a dime without acting like you were doing me a favor. He opened his mouth. I cut him off. And let's not forget how you introduced me as your cousin to your colleagues, too ashamed to call me your wife. He swallowed hard, face darkening. Memories seared into me. That humiliating party where he ditched me, leaving me to walk home in the cold. The stinging shame of realizing he would never stand up for me. He thought my silence then meant surrender. He was wrong. Because now, I was done. I drew myself up, spine straight. Daniel, I said evenly, voice cutting through the room like a blade. From today forward, household chores, Jack's school runs, your damn dry cleaning, not my problem. Jack's eyes went wide. Dad, what do we do? Daniel scoffed, rolling his eyes. Sarah, don't be dramatic. You think I can't handle it? Just then the doorbell rang. Daniel's eyes lit up with smug triumph. He stood. Ah, perfect timing. He opened the door, and there she was. My mother-in-law, sharp, judgmental, with a voice that could peel paint off walls. My heart sank. Anna, the woman who'd hated me from the start. Anna swept into the living room like a storm cloud, eyes darting around, nose wrinkling in disgust. Daniel, I told you from day one, you and Sarah were never a good match. Just look at this place. How can you live in this pigsty? I didn't flinch. I crossed my arms. Jack, I said smoothly, why don't you show your grandmother exactly where you threw all your stuff? Jack's face twisted. Grandma, she keeps making me clean. Say something to her. Anna turned her gaze to me, her mouth curling in disdain. I didn't give her a chance to speak. Anna, take a good look at him. Spoiled rotten. Clearly I'm failing as a mother. Lucky for me, you're here. Why don't you take over? Her eyes widened. Before she could answer, I spun on my heel and walked back to my room. Behind me, her shrill voice carried through the house. Don't worry, my dear boy. Grandma's here now. Mommy won't dare to be mean to you anymore. The next morning, the knocking started before dawn. Bang, bang, bang. Sarah, where do you keep the eggs and vegetables? Anna's voice was as sharp as broken glass, but she wasn't looking at me. Her eyes were scanning my bedroom, cold and calculating like a vulture hunting for anything valuable. I yawned and sat up. There's no food in the house. She blinked, feigning surprise. None at all? Fishing for information. Typical. I didn't take the bait. Instead, I reached into my bedside drawer and pulled out the paper Daniel himself had signed. See this? Your son said I was useless, a freeloader, said he and Jack could survive just fine without me. Well, congratulations, I'm officially retired. Anna's face twitched. She tried to soften her tone. Sarah, couples fight. You shouldn't take things so seriously. But her eyes told the truth. Cold, condescending. I remembered that look well. She'd given it to me the first time we met, judged me, declared me unworthy for her precious son, until, of course, she found out I owned property in Manhattan. Then she changed her tune overnight, so polite, so helpful. Even went behind my back to a real estate agent to check its value. When she found out it was appreciating fast, she suddenly suggested I add Daniel and her to the property title. Like hell I would. I stared at her now, silent. She dropped the sweet act completely. Her voice went cold and hard. Sarah, a woman like you... I cut her off. What? Should Daniel divorce me? Are you going to hit me? Her eyes blazed, her hand shot up, ready to slap me. I sidestepped so effortlessly she lost her balance and fell to the floor with a graceless thud. Daniel came flying out of nowhere. "Sarah, what the hell is wrong with you?" He dropped to his knees next to his mother. Jack crept up behind them, his phone up. Recording. So that was the plan. They'd set this up. A perfect little family drama. Frame me as the abusive wife and mother. I leaned back against the wall, arms folded. "Want me to call 911? I asked dryly. "Or would you prefer I drive you to the hospital myself?" Anna, who seconds ago was too weak to move, suddenly grabbed Daniel's arm with impressive strength. "Take me to the hospital. I don't want to see this woman ever again." Jack, the loyal little accomplice, followed them, holding up his phone with a smug smirk. Oh, I got the message. He'd share that video with every friend, every relative, rally them all against me. I sighed dramatically. Go ahead, kid. Do your worst. While they were busy playing their scene at the hospital, I finally checked my phone. Dozens of messages, calls, notifications blowing up. Jack must have sent that video to the entire family tree. How adorable. Too bad they underestimated me. They had 3 people. I had an army. Soon after, the real chaos began. At my quiet signal, the debt collectors arrived. One by one, they poured into our street, surrounding Daniel like sharks smelling blood. "Mr. Spencer, your son's tennis lessons, $13,000. Time to pay up. Your golf club fees are overdue. Your credit line expires today." Daniel turned whiter with every demand. He couldn't even speak. He was drowning under the weight of his own unpaid bills. Anna's shriek echoed across the driveway. She barreled forward to defend her precious boy. "Get away from my son!" The collectors recoiled politely, whipped out their phones, recording everything. If she tried to claim they attacked her, video proof said otherwise. The real fun started when Anna, no longer the fragile old woman, stood in the center of the chaos barking at everyone, voice booming, face purple with rage. Meanwhile, Daniel's phone wouldn't stop ringing. He picked up, voice shaking. No, it's a misunderstanding. My mother is fine. Jack was joking with that video. She's perfectly healthy." Because he knew, if the truth about his mother faking an injury got out, if people saw the mountain of unpaid debts, he'd be ruined, reputation gone. I watched it all, arms folded, face calm. When Daniel finally caught my eye, his face twisted with hate. "Just you wait," he spat. I didn't even blink. "Take your time." Because for once, I wasn't the one cleaning up his mess. I stayed in my house for a full week after that circus. Waiting for Daniel's threats to come true, for the angry pounding at my door, for the screaming demands that I fix everything. But nothing came. Silence. While he sulked in that silence, I did something I hadn't done in years. I got a job. It wasn't glamorous. It didn't pay 6 figures, but it was mine. For the first time in forever, I had somewhere to go that wasn't just the grocery store or school drop-off. I had coworkers who actually listened to me. People who valued what I did. Strangers who saw me as Sarah, not Jack's mom or Daniel's wife. And I was alive, glowing, thriving, laughing again. Until one day my boss called me in. He cleared his throat, looked everywhere but at me. "Sarah, you might want to take some time off, for your health." My heart sank. "My health?" "Yes," he said awkwardly. "I heard you've been struggling with depression. Maybe you should rest?" My skin went cold. Depression. Struggling. That word was like a gunshot in the room. I slammed down my recent medical report. Clean, perfect. My boss blinked, confused. "This doesn't match the other report I saw," he mumbled. We compared them side by side. There it was, a second report, claiming I had severe postpartum depression. But the date had been doctored to make it look recent. I didn't need to guess who did it. Years ago, after I gave birth to Jack, I had suffered postpartum depression. Of course I did. Daniel wouldn't help. Anna told me I was weak. I was drowning, exhausted, alone. Back then, Daniel had said soothingly, "Why don't you just stay home?" don't work, take care of Jack. He made it sound like mercy, a gift. Now he was using it as a weapon, to ruin my reputation, to sabotage my job. He wanted to trap me all over again. That was the moment I snapped. I wasn't going to let him smear me. I wasn't going to let him turn me into a ghost again. So I did what he never expected. I stormed into his office, right in the middle of a client meeting. Perfect. He froze when he saw me, his eyes flicking around the conference table, horrified. "Sarah," he hissed, "not here. Don't cause a scene." I smiled sweetly, loud enough for everyone to hear. "Darling, am I sick? Am I dying? Are you telling everyone I'm crazy?" Gasps around the room. Clients shifted in their seats, phones lowered onto the table, recording silently. Daniel's face drained of blood. "Sarah, stop. Why would you lie to them, Daniel? Why would you show them fake medical reports saying I'm unstable?" The clients started gathering their things, awkward glances, murmured excuses. One man gave a tight smile and said, "We'll, reschedule." Daniel's deal crumbled before his eyes. As soon as the room cleared, he lunged at me, grabbing my wrist in a death grip. "What do you want from me?" he snarled, eyes wild. I flinched theatrically, crouched down, covered my head, wailed, "Oh my God, Daniel, don't hit me." Every head in the hallway snapped toward us. Gasps, whispers, phones rising to record. Daniel froze like a statue. He hissed through gritted teeth. "Sarah, stop. What do you want?" I slowly stood, met his eyes, ice cold. "What do I want? I want what you promised me. You said I could go back to work when Jack was older. You said life would be fine without me. And yet you tried to destroy my future, sabotage my job, ruin my name." He had no words. I watched the truth sink in, watched the horror spread across his face, watched the last shred of his dignity shrivel in front of his colleagues. News spread through his company like wildfire. Daniel Spencer, the husband who forged medical records to ruin his wife's life. Even his boss called him in, warned him it was a bad look. He tried to fix it, tried to wave my real medical report around to prove he hadn't lied. But it was too late. The damage was done. The stain was permanent. I thought maybe, just maybe, he'd finally get it. Finally reflect. Finally apologize. But no, what I got instead? Divorce papers. I wasn't afraid of divorce. What terrified me, truly terrified me, was Jack growing up without love. Despite everything, I swallowed my resentment. I told myself he was just a child, that he didn't understand, so I went to see him. He opened the door and recoiled as if I were a roach on the floor. "What do you want? You're disgusting. Get lost." His words were knives. They buried themselves in my chest and twisted. My hand trembled halfway to his shoulder before dropping limp at my side. I wanted to say it didn't hurt, that I was strong enough to shrug it off, but I wasn't. My heart was breaking in real time. I steadied my voice. "Jack, your father wants a divorce." I waited for shock, or confusion, maybe even a flicker of sadness. Instead, his face lit up. He clapped his hands, actually clapped. "Finally, a woman like you doesn't deserve to be my mom. You should have left ages ago. Now I can get a new mom." The bitterness flooded my mouth. This was my child. My child. The one I nearly died to bring into this world. The one I'd fed, clothed, protected. But if he'd made up his mind, then I would grant his wish. I wiped my tears away roughly and turned to leave. Just as I reached the door, I hesitated. One last look, one last moment. That's when I saw her. A woman draped an arm over Jack's shoulder. Her voice was sugar sweet. "Jack, what do you want for dinner tonight? I'll make it for you." Jack beamed at her. "Lemon chicken, I love your cooking." She smiled, warm and maternal. Then her eyes met mine, and for just a heartbeat, her smile cracked. Because she knew me, and I knew her. Melody, Daniel's first love. Her lips parted like she wanted to explain. I beat her to it. "You're the woman Daniel chased for 3 years." She blinked, recovered. "Sarah, don't misunderstand. I'm not the reason your marriage fell apart." I let out a quiet laugh. "Does it even matter?" If it wasn't you, it would have been someone else." Her eyes shifted, her voice lowered, soft, almost confessional. I do still love him." There it was, the real dagger. She wasn't here to gloat. She was here to stake her claim, to make sure I knew my place, that she had Daniel now. I didn't bother arguing. I simply told her about Jack's allergies, the foods he wouldn't eat, the things that scared him at night, hoping, desperately, that she'd actually take care of him. But before I finished, Jack shoved me. Hard. "Mind your own business, you evil witch. Melody is my real mom." Something snapped. I had tolerated his disrespect. I had swallowed his cruelty. But hearing him reject me as his mother, that I couldn't forgive. Melody watched, pity flickering across her perfect face. She offered me a graceful smile. "Sarah, don't worry. I may not have given birth to Jack, but I'll love him like my own." I met her eyes, calm, cold. "I just hope you won't regret this someday." Then I turned and walked away, not looking back. The divorce battle was vicious. Daniel didn't want to split anything. The house? He wanted it. The money? All of it. The car? Obviously his. His argument? Sarah is mentally unstable. She's unfit. Even Jack doesn't want to live with her. Laughable. That house? I bought it. He never paid a single cent. The money? I had receipts, bank records, every humiliating penny accounted for. But the worst part? Jack. He took the stand, pointed his finger at me, called me lazy, claimed I abused him, said I never fed him, ungrateful, selfish, rotten. If that was the son he wanted to be? Fine. I agreed to give Daniel full custody, but I refused to accept his lies. I brought out the real evidence. Years of photos, videos, voice recordings, moments of me and Jack laughing, playing, cuddling, memories I'd saved to make a scrapbook for his 10th birthday. A gift he'd never get now. The courtroom fell silent as the videos played. Jack's expression changed, eyes flickering, seeing himself giggling, calling me mommy. For a second his eyes filled with tears, but then he looked over his shoulder, at Melody standing tall behind Daniel. And just like that, he shut down, turned away. He had made his choice. My heart turned to ash. I could have crushed them in court. I had enough to destroy Daniel completely, but I held back, not because I was weak, but because I was still a mother. I wouldn't let Jack see the full ugliness of his father. I wouldn't ruin his memories forever. Instead, I dragged the case out for months. Let Daniel squirm. Let him pay his army of lawyers. Let the stress eat him alive. Until he broke. Until he finally gave up. Until he signed away everything but Jack. In the end, I lost my son. But I kept my freedom, my dignity, my life. Not long after the divorce was finalized, an envelope landed in my mailbox. Heavy, expensive paper, an invitation. Daniel was getting remarried. He'd actually sent me an invitation to his wedding. I stared at it for a long time. The emotions were a tangled mess in my chest. Disbelief, rage, dark amusement. Was this supposed to humiliate me? Rub it in my face? Prove he'd won? But unlike Daniel, I wasn't petty. I took off my old wedding ring, slipped it into the envelope with the invitation, and mailed it back. No note except for a single line, returning to its rightful owner. That chapter was closed. I was done. I was moving forward. Months passed. I rebuilt my life. I worked, made friends, found joy in little things. My home was quiet, peaceful, no screaming, no slammed doors. I finally felt free. Until one evening there was a knock at my door. I opened it to see Jack. He looked destroyed, thin, pale, eyes hollowed and red. He didn't even wait to be invited in. He collapsed onto the floor, clutching my leg, sobbing so hard his words broke apart. "Mom, I'm sorry, I was wrong. Please take me back." His voice was ragged, desperate, terrified. I didn't move, didn't speak, just stared. "Melody is horrible," he wailed. "After she had her own baby, she changed. She hits me, makes me do all the housework. She hates me, Mom. Please, save me." His fingers dug into my pants, trembling, clawing for safety. I felt nothing, Not anger, not pity, not relief, just an icy emptiness. I almost laughed. Now he wanted me? After throwing me away like trash? After telling me I wasn't his mother? He was only here because someone else was treating him worse, because he wanted safety and comfort, again, not love, not me. Truth was, the first time I met Melody, I already knew. I'd seen the signs, the compression belt, the careful, subtle ways she hid her stomach. She was pregnant when she came back. Very pregnant, at least 5 months along. Daniel hadn't traveled anywhere. That baby wasn't his. I never told him. I kept it to myself. Let them play house. Let them get tangled in their own lies. Sure enough, her baby came early. The truth surfaced. Daniel, who thought he'd found salvation in Melody, realized too late she was no better than him. Worse even. She turned on Jack the second she had her real child. He became the unwanted one, the servant. But I didn't say any of that to Jack. I didn't gloat, didn't lecture, didn't comfort. I looked down at him, sobbing at my feet. My voice was cold, clear. You made your choice, Jack. Now live with it. He flinched, his grip loosened. He sat there shaking, eyes brimming with tears that finally spilled over. He opened his mouth, maybe to beg, maybe to curse me. But no sound came out. I didn't wait. I turned and walked away. He didn't follow. He just sat there in the hall, crying. And me? I felt the final chain snap. For the first time in years, I was truly free. No husband, no mother-in-law, no ungrateful child. Just me, scarred, changed, but alive. Daniel and Melody's picture-perfect marriage didn't last. Of course it didn't. It didn't even take a year before the cracks turned into craters. Melody filed for divorce. And Daniel? He was left with nothing but debts, custody battles, and a reputation so stained he couldn't scrub it clean if he tried. He even went out of his way to send me another message, another attempt to get under my skin. But I didn't respond, didn't even open it. I tossed it straight into the trash without reading a single word. I had no time for ghosts, no time for the past. I was busy building something new. I bought new clothes, learned new skills, changed my hair. My apartment, once cold and bare, filled with things that made me happy. Art on the walls, warm lights, a kitchen that smelled of spices I liked, not meals made for someone else. I laughed more, slept better, breathed easier. I found myself again, or maybe I met her for the first time. The woman who didn't ask permission to exist, who didn't apologize for breathing, who didn't live for anyone else's approval. But even in freedom there were scars, memories that clung like old cobwebs. Days I woke up reaching for a boy who wasn't there. Nights I heard phantom footsteps in the hall. I still thought about Jack. I remembered the first time I held him, tiny and red-faced, screaming his lungs out. How I had wept, terrified, and in love. How I had promised him the world. It hurt. God, it hurt. But I let myself feel it, because that pain was proof I had loved, proof I was human, and I would never again let anyone tell me that was a weakness. One afternoon, months later, I ran into a neighbor who didn't know the whole story. They asked gently, "How's Jack?" I paused, took a breath, and for the first time my voice didn't tremble. He's not with me anymore, but I hope he's okay. And I meant it, because hating him wouldn't heal me. Cursing him wouldn't fix us. He had made his choice, and I had made mine. I still sent him birthday cards, even though I didn't know if he read them, even though I doubted he kept them, because that was who I was. Not the maid, not the scapegoat, not the punching bag. His mother, always would be, even if he never called me that again. And me, I kept going, one step at a time, one day at a time. I learned to smile without faking it, to laugh without looking over my shoulder, to wake up without dread curling in my gut. People called me strong, brave, resilient, but I wasn't any of those things. I was just done. Done living small, done apologizing, done sacrificing for people who would never bleed for me. I wasn't trying to be a hero. I just wanted to be free. And finally, after all the years of pretending, of suffocating, of giving and giving and giving until I was a husk, I was. This was my ending. Not a fairy tale, not a tragedy, just real, raw, mine. In the end, I lost my husband, I lost my son, but I found myself. No more begging for respect, no more sacrificing for people who'd never bleed for me. This isn't a happy ending. It's not a fairy tale. It's real, it's raw, and it's mine. And for the first time in years, I'm finally free. If you want more real stories like this, hit subscribe. Follow for more raw, unfiltered truths. Share if you believe women deserve better.